In the personal finance world, it seems as though everything revolves around this one number. The message comes across in blogs, YouTube videos, podcasts, books, that this number basically says how good you are at doing life. And that number is your net worth. As a believer, you know that the ultimate measure of how well you are doing in life comes from knowing how great your relationship is with Jesus Christ. If you are pursuing an intentional relationship with the Lord, then you are doing pretty great. And no amount of money will ever define your value when you are a son or daughter of the King. But does this mean that Christians shouldn't be tracking their net worths? Should we not pay attention to what is going on with our finances? Does tracking our net worth lead us down a path towards asking our money to give us our security and our hope? In this video, we're going to be exploring those questions, and then I'm going to share with you 3 main reasons why I actually believe Christians should be tracking their net worth. Welcome back to the Agape Investing channel. I'm Katie Jones, and I help you learn biblical and practical money tips to help you become an excellent money manager. That way you can free your money up to pursue your unique calling. Be sure to grab my free biblical money management checklist where I teach you the 6 steps to becoming an excellent money manager for the glory of God and for the good of others. So what is this magical number, your net worth? Net worth is basically a number to tell you whether you are going forward or backward financially. Many people get confused with net worth being the amount of money that they're actually making, and net worth is not your salary. In fact, there are many people in the world who have very big salaries but very little net worths. Sure, if you have a bigger salary, your net worth can grow faster, but it really depends on how you actually use your money once you receive it. In fact, there's a lot of studies done on people with high net worths, and some studies have actually shown that there are plenty of teachers out there who traditionally have lower salaries, but their net worths reach over $1 million. So to track your net worth, you simply have to take all of your assets and subtract all of your debts. Sometimes that number may be negative. In next week's video, I'll share with you exactly how to track your net worth regularly using Google Sheets, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. But today I want to talk specifically about this topic of net worth and whether or not it's biblical to be tracking it. Before we talk about the 3 main reasons I believe we should be tracking our net worths, I want to actually discuss why we may not want to be tracking our net worth. The thing we need to be extremely careful about is this word worth. If you allow yourself to put your worth and value in how much you're able to accumulate, then you are always going to feel like there's this hole inside of you saying that you need more in order to be more. And so if you are tracking your net worth, you need to be really careful not to take that number and stick it on your chest saying, this is who I am. I really love how it's explained on this article on Bible Money Matters, which says, we fool ourselves if we think our worth can be calculated with a pen, paper, or calculator. We prepare ourselves for a lifetime of disappointment if we think that our worth is determined by what we own. This is so true and so important to recognize before we ever go and calculate that number. Your net worth does not define your value. In fact, the Bible gives us so many warnings against loving our money. And loving our money doesn't always come from wanting to buy big houses or fancy cars or really nice clothes. Loving our money kind of starts little but grows inside of us and takes over our hearts, because if we ask our finances to do for us what only God can do, give us security and worth and hope, then we surely will always come up short. So if you've been tracking your net worth and you have this feeling of this is my value, this is the number that determines who I am and how good I am at doing life, then stop. Do not track your net worth. In fact, go destroy all those documents that tell you your worth, because they are wrong. But this doesn't necessarily give us the excuse to just forget about our money altogether. God is the one who gave you that wealth and that money in the first place. He's the one who gave you those skills, talents, abilities, and experiences to be able to go and do your job to produce the wealth that you have. And so one very crucial and important biblical truth to understand is that we need to be pursuing our financial management with excellence. We should be thinking about where our money is going and how much debt we have, and should be preparing a budget to figure out where to be spending our money. In fact, this is all a part of this big umbrella of financial stewardship, or how I like to call it, being an excellent money manager. Because this idea of being a manager or steward of these resources shows us that this money isn't our own, and this money doesn't define who we are or our value. 1 Corinthians 9:24-25 says that we are supposed to be running our races as if we are going to get that prize. That means we need to give it our all. And this is how we should approach our personal finances. God has entrusted you with a certain amount of money to start with, and it is your job to oversee that money. Bob Loddick, in his new book, Simple Money, Rich Life, suggests that we should actually get rid of this idea and this concept of net worth, because it really does put too much weight on us and suggests that our value and worth come from how much we're able to accumulate. Rather, Bob suggests that we look at our wealth as assets under management. Thinking about our money and our wealth as assets that are under our management really takes that focus off of this is my worth and value to no, my money is actually a tool and a resource that God has given me to then go and do something with. And this is how I believe God truly wants us to be viewing our wealth, as assets that are under our management, our care. We are to be good managers and stewards of it. So that brings us into this question of why should Christians be tracking their net worth? Reason number one is that you actually have a biblical responsibility to track your money. Proverbs 27:23 says that you should know the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds. This isn't just good advice for farmers, but it's actually an instruction on how to handle your money. We know this because way back then, starting all the way in Genesis, livestock was considered wealth. So think about it like this. If your boss, coworker, neighbor, friend, family member were to come and give you $10,000 and say, hold on to this, I'll be back in a month, you would have a responsibility to make sure and track it to see that it doesn't magically disappear into a new wardrobe. This is basically the message that we get from the parable of the talents. The master is going on a journey and he asks his servants to watch over his wealth for him. And so in the same way, God entrusts his wealth to you. And so you have a responsibility to make sure that wealth doesn't just disappear into thin air. Reason number two is that it allows you to focus on kingdom building activities. Your net worth isn't just a number to show you how well you're doing financially. If we go back and think about our wealth as assets under management, then we see that our money has a greater purpose than just glorifying ourselves. Think about the parable of the talents as well. The master gave money and wealth over to his servants, and he said that it was good and wise for those two who grew their wealth over the time that he was gone. But the one who went and hid his wealth and kept it from the world and didn't want to take any risk with it was called a fool. So we aren't just accumulating wealth for the sake of wealth. We're accumulating wealth for the sake of the kingdom. And God wants to see that he can entrust you to invest it in kingdom building activities. This means that we should be investing in our churches, investing in others, taking time to invest in our families, as well as thinking about our unique callings and pouring into those as well. So God wants you to be tracking your wealth, not so that you can prove to others how good you are at your personal finances, but so that you can see that number and pray over it and be wisely considering how you can use it for purposes that are greater than yourself. So reason number three is so that you have an amazing starting point for your financial testimony. Maybe you're considering all of the debt that you have piling up, like student loans, car payments, credit cards, and the idea of figuring out what your net worth is doesn't really excite you because you know that it probably isn't great. But I believe that you are in the perfect spot to figure out what your wealth is right now, to face that fact so you can do something about it. And imagine what kind of financial testimony that would produce if years from now you point back to this day and say, this is where I was at, but I surrendered my finances over to the Lord and see where He has brought me. That is what happens when you allow the Lord to redeem your financial situation. Bob Loddick says it really well when he says, a master gardener doesn't abandon his trees when they are struggling. Instead, he gives them extra time and attention until they are healthy again. Mastering our money requires the same of us. When a financial storm comes, we don't bury our heads in the sand, but instead prayerfully doing everything in our strength to weather it well. This is an amazing moment for you to figure out what that number is, pray over it, give it to God, and allow Him to do the work. This doesn't mean that you sit back and wait for the magic to happen, but you need to be taking practical steps today in order to change that number from negative to positive. It is absolutely possible for you to redeem your financial situation. But if you allow fear to creep in and tell you that you aren't worthy and that it isn't possible, then the enemy is winning. Because the enemy knows that if you change your financial situation and if you figure out how to manage it well, and if you figure out how to build your wealth over time, then you know and you have the power to go and do amazing things for the kingdom. And that is what the enemy doesn't want. So it's time for you today to get up and do something about it. And the first step is to face the fact. Take down your net worth so you know where your starting point is at. Give it over to God and work alongside Him as you build and redeem your finances. In next week's video, I'll share exactly how I do this using Google Sheets and give you a few tips on how you can start building your net worth up. So I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any new videos. And if you want to continue the conversation, or if you have any other questions about biblical money management, I want to invite you to our community called Redeeming Your Finances, where you can ask questions and gain encouragement on your journey towards becoming an excellent money manager. I hope to see you there.